The person who was earlier, I think, working in Hindustan, he joined that project, and we, from our authority engineer side, we have a association of good engineer who was quite well experienced. But we could able to open the first 4 lane by September 22, though it was to be completed by April 19. So there was some technical problems, some data, what we likewise type of foundation system. One foundation depth got increased considerably. We had to got the design change. Then designer was from French. Proof checking was being done from the China. Due to Corona, there was no proper synchronization or coordination. So it got delayed, but beautifully 4-lane bridge have been completed and open to traffic. And other 4-lane will be completed by this August or September. Precisely by end of September, we will open that. Government of India will open that additional 4-lane others to open. Then my short association was the Bet Dwarka. When it was Bet Dwarka was under consideration, again I was a ADG, holding charge ADG of the Gujarat state. It was very design was done by RB. I think that RB was a design consultant. We had a series of meeting, a lot of association. In that particular, a central span of 500 meters is rightly Hegde Saab or Alok said that it is the longest central span. That bridge is also likely to be completed now by this year end. This year end, it's a very good bridge, 500 central span. So these two bridge, one bridge I was almost associated during construction period, design, DPR, tenders, award of work, and almost till completion of 4-lane, I was with that bridge. Then Bet Dwarka, I was associated with preparation of DPR and award of work almost. Then I got shifted to NHI. I was not in charge of Gujarat. So, but I'm still keeping track of the activities, being is a baby initiated by me during my early period. And beautiful bridge is almost complete and likely to be open by December. It will be open to. So now failure. That is recently we are coming across some like as a Kota bridge, that was the cause, have been investigated. Then recently cable stay bridges in Patna, that was a state government project. So I think yet committee has been constituted. Now I share the sentiments of my two colleagues, panelists, Hegde Saab and Alok Bhomikji. Certainly DPR should be done with a much precision. If we call the 25 to 30 years old period, if I to construct a bridge of length 500, 600 meter, like a Basin Creek bridge we have done on Bombay Ahmedabad. So the detailing, it was a World Bank project. Basin, I'm just outskirts of Mumbai. We have about 500 meter long bridge. Basin, I think it's a beautiful bridge constructed. So the detailing and the DPR was done by the CS. And we had a 2 years time to complete the DPR. Every foundation location, soil investigation was done. Where the strata, hard strata would be available, that was known. And during construction also, we could see under the veil, in the veil, that yes, strata, the rock, basalt rock is available at the depth, at the level where the DPR envisages the availability data. But I think we are running behind the time. The targets are being given in such a way that for a long span bridge and the bridge with about 1,000 meter length, the time is being given is only 30 months or 36 months. Whereas the enough time should be given for such a, so that sequence of the construction could be followed. Again, DPR, I share the sentiments in proof designing. The director of design and designing, certainly these are the different duties to be performed. Director design should be part of the consultant, contractors, but the design consultant shall be an independent entity. Again, proof checking should be taken really seriously, like a railway. Now, railway, we were getting our ROB proof checked and got approved by railway. The same system should be followed. I think there are some system improvement is required in highway sector. What I perceived, system improvement, and government, I think of late has now decided to implement the rigid DPR and approval system so that such instance of failure could be avoided. With this, but I share fully my sentiments with Hegde Sahab and Alok. Though I was in government side, but I was also little vocal. Whatever the wrong, I used to point out that this should be implemented. Maybe we have a limitation. Engineers have limitation nowadays here and there in government also. We try to implement. We could succeed or could not succeed. But I think system needs to be improved so that such incidences could be avoided. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tawde sir. It's heartening to hear that you have been attached with these accidents personally, which is something, I mean, like you must have analyzed things much more than anybody else, I guess. But anyway, thank you so much. Although it was very unfortunate that we had a major accident like this in Kota. Now, I think it's a time to take up the questions, the interactions with the other audience. And any panelists, I would say, I mean, whoever feels it right and appropriate, please interact, answer, and all that. So for these questions, may I request our Honorary Secretary, Mrs. Swapnil Joshi, to take up the questions from the question answer box. There are, as of now, 5 or 6 questions. So, Swapnil, would you like to take up the questions?
Yes, sir. So I just start with the first question. So I don't know I'm not able to read the name from which is being put up, but then I just ask the question: is if we are constructing at rapid pace, why are projects always behind schedule and also exceed the project cost? So I think this is mainly related to the rapid pace and, behind schedule and project cost is okay. But if somebody from the panelists can connect it to the rapid pace of work and avoiding, and not giving an importance to the, the possible failures could be through this process of completion. If somebody, Hegde sir, if you can just...
I will take the question. You see,
Swapnil, he is Sachin Oak.
Yeah, Sachin Oak.
Sachin Oak. Okay.
Yes, question by the same person. Okay, Mr. Hegde, please.
Yeah.
Though the question is, looking very innocuous, I think for this particular session, that is the part 2 of the panel discussion for the cable support integers, this question is very, very important, I feel. Again, I will tell you that it has the genesis in the preparation of the DPR. When you are preparing the DPR, see how our contract is formulated basically. Let us understand that. During the stage of the DPR, detailed project report, we normally prepare the technical schedules which has to be incorporated in the contract agreement, or what we call it as an RF, reference for procurement. That's what we call it as. So that technical schedule is prepared. Now let us understand that we are preparing a DPR for a cable stay bridge which is going to come. The cable stay bridges have the special investigation requirement. Say, for example, the cable stay bridge requires the site-specific studies. The cable stay bridges require the wind, wind tunnel studies, to understand the wind dynamics. In some cases, the cable stay bridges, the special studies like the navigational clearance study when it is in a marine environment, the sea environment, where the navigational ships have to go under the bridge, then in what direction it has to go. And also some cases it requires the hydrological studies when it is there. All these studies has to be conducted during the DPR stage itself, but that is not done because it's all time consuming. And once it is done and the DPR is given, we will be preparing the conceptual design, and the conceptual design also has to be prepared by a detailed design consultant who has the experience of designing a cable stay bridge. Otherwise, what happens, we have seen, I think all the other panelists are also aware of it. In some cases, you don't believe that, like the DPR design has been done for an extra dose multi-span cable stay bridge, the side span is given similar to that of the main span. It is never done. Actually, in case of the extra dose bridge, normally it is around 0.6 to 0.7 times the main span is. But in the DPR design, and that becomes a part of the Schedule B. When we talk about the Schedule B, it's a mandatory requirement for the design of the that particular thing. Now, once this technical schedule becomes a part of an RFP, the tender is sort of awarded to the contractor. The contractor has to quote on the basis of basically whatever it is. Of course, the pre-bid meeting takes place. Let me tell you another thing. The pre-bid meeting, the questions will be asked by the contractor as well as the design consultants, but the answers would be always, please refer to the RFP as per the RFP conditions. That's it. Whatever the questions which has been asked, the answers will not be it will not be given in an unambiguous manner. These are the issues have to be addressed by the owner's side, in my opinion. Now the contractor gets the job. The contractor judiciously, as per the requirement of the contractor, what is his job? He has to engage a detailed design consultant, and who has the experience of doing that, he engages the detailed design consultant. He has to engage a proof checking consultant, and also the proof checking consultants, 3 consultants. The proof checking will be given to the client. Client goes through it and he approves the proof checking consultant. Of course, authority engineers are engaged by him. And the proof checking consultant also, again, I will tell you that there is an issue there. Proof checking consultancy, in my opinion, should have done the detailed design of this. What is the proof checking? Proof checking is done by a person who is more experienced and more qualified than the detailed design consultant. Then only do the proof checking. But in Indian condition, I will tell you, it is not that. Many of the proof checking consultants take the job just to learn the job. They will have collected a lot of design documents for themselves, the design reports for themselves, and they will build up the proof checking consultant. That's how it happens in India. It's a reality. I may be hurting somebody's sentiments here, but that's the reality which has been going on. Proof checking consultants, people, for 1,000 crore job, they take the proof checking consultancy for the 5 lakh rupees. The proof checking consultancy is done for what sort of proof checking will be able to you expect from that sort of proof checking consultants. So I think there is, as Mr. Taude said, there is some sort of a problem in our system which has to be addressed. Basically, we'll have to address that. And coming to that, right of way is not fully occupied. Right of way is a problem. 90% of right of way should have been procured before the the award of the job, so that the job can be started immediately. Since the site specific studies is not done during the DPR stage, what happens? The contractor has to do the site specific seismic studies, but whatever the assumptions he has made during the design, I think the the seismic demand may become twice and thrice once he does the site specific studies, and whatever the assumption he has made during his design evaluation, it goes haywire. See, the right of way is not there. These are the issues which has to be addressed by the authorities, in my opinion. In addition to the issues what Mr. Bhowmik has brought out very clearly, the contract is one-sided. That is the reality. I think we'll have to adopt the FIDIC conditions of the contract. We'll have to slowly orient towards the FIDIC condition of the contract. If we address all these issues very clearly, we not only can avoid the mishaps which has been taking place during the construction, we can also avoid this the cost overrun as well as the time overrun, in my opinion. I trust this answers the questions, and also I invite the comments from the other panelists on the comments which I have made.
Thank you, Mr. Hegde. I'll not like to elaborate or ask anybody else. I don't want the panelists to fight themselves. So, but I must say that a small question, very big answer.
Yes, very elaborative and yeah. Yes, Tambe sir.
So,
I would only like to add one thing to what was said just now. When the 55 flyover project was taken up in Mumbai,
yes,
and it was to be constructed fast.
Right.
In a meeting, I told the Chief Minister that in order to complete it in time, it must be considered as a government project, not as a PWD project.
Yes.
That is what is happening in India. These are NHAI projects or PWD projects, not government projects. And therefore, other agencies of the government whose close cooperation is needed for fast construction don't really cooperate to that extent. If we can achieve that, then the speed will be better. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, Vinay sir, you're saying something?
Yeah, Swapnil, please go on to the next question.
Yeah, yeah. So I think Tamesa, I'll be coming back to you on the same topic where there's a further more elaboration will be required from your end on point on the third question. Before that, I'll go to Tandon sir. So there is a very interesting question it is by Mr. Sachin Oak only again. So what he's asking is, can we have some sort of a policing body, say IIB or IRC, which makes sure that competent professionals like design director, project director are appointed, who will be responsible for such a mega projects whenever they are awarded to the contractor. So I think, sir, you will be the, right person to comment on this. If you can give your views on this. So you're on mute, sir.
Who is to answer?
Mahesh Tandon, sir. Sir, I think you're on mute.
Okay.
You'll have to unmute.
Okay.
No, Mr. Tandon, you're muted. You have to unmute.
Can you just repeat what? Because it's a long thing, but what is the question?
Yeah. So the question says that can we have a sort of a policing body?
Policing body.
Okay. On appointment of the competent professionals, like design director or a project director, who will be responsible for such a mega scale projects whenever they are awarded to the contractor.
I think policing body in this case is not required. I think what we need to do is to first educate everybody. That means that you have from the owner side itself, people who are taking the decisions on making of contracts and making what kind of people you require at the site, and all those variety of things, they have to be first educated, or their way of thinking has to be upgraded, where they can think along the lines that we are talking about. I don't think anybody has bad intentions. So it's a question of, I think that it is more a question of ignorance in certain matters, that people are not taking the right decisions. So we need to do that first, but that is easier said than done. And the owners, particularly the government, they don't want to be taught anything. They think that they know everything. But the fact is that if it becomes a law that you have to do some upgrading of your skills, whichever field you are in, it may be design, construction, or making contracts, you may be on any of the sides. That means you may be a designer, you may be a contractor, you may be a person from the government. Everybody requires to upgrade their skills. And when you come to, since we are talking about these cable supported bridges, when it becomes, I think we should restrict our discussions to what the topic is, rather than talking in general, which is of course applicable to everything. Now, before you get into a cable supported bridge, you must understand what is involved. And you first have to, even the owners, whoever they may be, they have to first get educated on what type of bridge is coming up. And then only they can find out what type of people you require, whether they are designers or proof checkers or whatever.
Right.
So I think policing is not the answer. The answer, I think, lies in upgrading our own skills of all the stakeholders who are involved in a project which is a cable supported bridge. So once you have done that, I think the job will be much easier.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think Ruhi, can we unmute Mr. Sachin Oak and ask him whether his points have been clarified, or he got anything he needs to be asked further on these 2 pointers or 2 questions what he has raised.
Yeah, we can do this.
So, Mr. Sachin Oak, if you are there, if you can just your questions are being already addressed by our 2 eminent panelists. So, if you have have anything to ask on that, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I want to sincerely thank Hegde sir and Tandon sir for answering those questions. And I completely agree that all the stakeholders need to have that accountability, that understanding, and get rid of the ignorance. My limited point in saying policing was that instead of, like we say, prevention is better than cure. So instead of later on, appointing an investigation body where also our eminent personalities, like I like to call them, our bridge industry celebrities, they will be appointed for investigations of these failures. It would be definitely better to have a preventive body where those eminent people can make sure that everything is going the right way. Let's say we can have like maybe a advisory committee or some sort of mentoring committee where the contractor and even the design people can have this support, this moral and actual technical support whenever needed, because we know that we don't have the code as yet for cable supported bridges, like Hegde sir said, and it's in the draft stage, and it's coming out. And I had raised in our IIB 2022 to have a workshop on that also. So till that is in place, I think it would be really good to have such a committee which can help out during construction, after construction things, where such mega failures can be avoided. And I also want to ask whether I'm sorry for putting another question. Want to ask whether the SHM methods, which Swapnil Joshi sir, you also mentioned about, can we use them, or are they being used during construction instead of after construction? It's being put in tenders now from the authorities. Can we also stress on using these mitigating or these monitoring systems, these gauges, these instrumentation during construction, where we can know beforehand that some failure is going to take place? Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, Tandon sir, you want to say something?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
I think Mr. Sachin Oak, in the beginning at least, he mentioned something which is most sensible, and it is something which is practiced in most countries. When you are taking on a major mega project, and we are talking now about cable supported bridges, which I think belongs to that category, they almost always have an advisory committee, which consists of people who have the expertise, and they can advise people what to do. If you look at a country like Japan, of course, it is exceptional. The way the Japanese do their work on these major projects. But even apart from Japan, there are other countries also. They always appoint an advisory committee from the beginning till the end, so that the tendering process itself, you have the correct decisions taken, or at least you have the benefit of advice of people who should know what is the decision to be taken, and right during design, whether construction, everything. This advisory committee, it may consist of 5-6 people, I don't know how many people. And of course, it is not only the technical side of it, which requires maybe 3-4 people at least, but also the administrative part of it, which we have been discussing for quite some time. I think that becomes even more important for cable supported bridges, being a mega project. So even there, the advice should be taken of people who know about these type of bridges and can say that in this particular project, what is to be done. Not general. We can have an IRC code, certainly, but other than that, specifically for the project that we are going to undertake, this advisory committee is most essential according to me. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, sir. Hidde, sir, you want to make a point, or should I move to the next question quickly?
I think if the time is not there, I think you can go ahead. Like that's.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, sir. So the next question, sir, Tambe sir, I just want to put up to you because it's the question is being asked that is there any chance that IIB can request to higher authorities to make changes in the contract with contractor, and it should be with the full of specifications and define the responsibility and accountability. So the question is simple. What they are saying, can IIB intervene and request to the higher authority to make a foolproof, completely responsibility and accountability oriented contract can be drafted. Is there any possibility of that kind of a scenario to avoid such kind of failures? So you'll have to unmute. So you're on mute. So you'll have to unmute and. So yeah.
You see, when the IIB was formed, we had assured the IRC that IIB will be making recommendations to IRC.
Right.
And government is not likely to hear IIB. They are likely to hear the IRC. And
yes,
that is where the problem might arise. That's what I feel.
Okay.
We can certainly make recommendations, but probably the players are the same in both bodies.
Yes.
These people who are eminent here are also on IRC committees, and so that's the problem.
Yeah. And also in that continuation, sir, there is another point, a long questions I'm breaking into 2-3 parts. So it says that why we are not, the risk analysis and its mitigation strategies, are being made mandatory at the concept stage itself, until the completion of the project. Why it is not being made mandatory or as a part of the contract? So that is another point, part of the question. So I'm just putting up to you again on that, and I'll again go to Hegde Saab also on that.
I think it's a very good suggestion to have risk analysis committee before the start of the project. I remember in the annual convention which is held in USA of all Marathi people, my brother was chairman of the risk analysis committee, which went into session even much before the start of the session. So a risk analysis committee is a very good idea. Yes. And it could be implemented.
Right. Great. Now, third part of the question, I'll come to Alok Bhomik, sir, because what the question says, why all the time contractor is being considered responsible for the failures, and why not the the design consultant, detailed design consultants are being considered for that matter. So whenever failure happens, first of all the guns are pointed towards the contractor all the time. So I think I'll take your view, and I'll also take view from Hegde Saab later on, because they're two sides of the same this thing. So please, sir.
No, the answer is obvious. You see, because as I mentioned, in my talk that the contract is totally one-sided generally, where if it is an EPC contract, the contractor is responsible for whether it is a bad design, because design also he is responsible, whether it is a bad supervision, because he is supposed to supervise his own work and certify his own quality, and he has to maintain after for a specific period after the end of construction. Manpower input, which says that you have to supervise some 10% or 15% or whatever. Point is, but if you see the past failures, it's not that the failure is due to the only faulty construction, but it is also due to faulty design. In many cases, it is proved that design fault. But what the point which you are making is about the DPR. The problem here, another major problem which I think nobody discussed, but let me have the guts to discuss this, that you see, in case of any failure, post-failure investigation, who is doing the investigation? One of the player. It is like one of the player is the referee. And he is telling, he is investigating, and he is telling. So obviously, if the regulator becomes the also the investigator, then he is ruled out of the game. I mean, obviously the other people, other players, either designer or the contractor is only responsible. The client is not responsible because he is investigating. If you want a fair investigation of any failure, the regulator has to be some other agency, which is what is the practice in railways. They have a separate railway board under Ministry of Civil Aviation, not under Ministry of Railways. If you see other port authority, every authority, the regulator is not from the same ministry, because only then you can have a fair investigation. Only then you would know what is the precise, reason for failure and what improvement is needed.
Right.
So yes, the real cause of failure you would not come to know, because you will only know, it is a design failure or construction failure, but you will not know whether the original span arrangement given in the DPR itself was so wrong that that is the root cause of the failure.
Yes, true, very true. So, very true, sir. Hegde sir, I would like to take your view also on the same, because you worked as an designer from the contractor side, plus you have been in the part of the lot of committees and in formulation of codes, plus you have seen the consultant side also. Can you put up your view on that, on the same, please?
As I think Bhowmik has very lucidly has explained as to what is the problem in during his discourse as well as during his comments also. You see, as far as the structure or the construct of the EPC contract is concerned with regards to the design as well as the execution, with the, if you go by the spirit, it's very good. The problem is the pre-qualification criteria which has been put for the various stakeholders. Now, what is the premise of having, say, for example, now in an EPC contract, you have a detailed design director, you have a proof checking consultant, you have a safety consultant. On top of that, you have an authority engineer. You have got 4 stakeholders, outside stakeholders, apart from this owner. The premise of all these things is very clear. Most of the responsibilities or the onus is on these 4 stakeholders, actually not on the owners.
Yes.
That is very clear, as Mr. Bhowmik has said. Now, a design director, it's very, very, it is not, may not be directly, but indirectly it is said the design director is responsible for all the designs, actually, including the temporary structures, permanent structure. The design director is not a detailed design consultant as per the specification, but I think it has been converted into a detailed design consultant himself is a design director. Unfortunately, if you really look at it, it says it has to be an entity engaged by a contractor. It is not, it is not necessary the design consultants, the detailed design consultant. Now, he has to, look at the spirit of it. Very good. Now, once it is a design is done by the detailed design consultant, it is a first stage verification is done by the design director. Sort of first stage verification, and he approves it and sends it for your information to the proof checking consultant. Now, proof checking consultant is supposed to be having a better experience and better qualification in terms of that to proof check it. Otherwise, if his past experience is only that of the proof checking, is not a detailed design, he has never done it. What sort of, it is not correct, but that is where the qualification criteria for the proof checking consultant has to be improved. And also the safety consultant, unfortunately, I think it has come from the project highway. Safety consultant has to look into the project highway, safety of the project highway with regards to the, pedestrians crossing over and the geometric. But I think safety consultant has to be extended even to the, say, for example, the temporary structure is there. During the temporary structure design, it has to be done in such a way that, like during the execution of the project, so nothing happens. Even the bridge project also, it's not necessary for the only highways. He has to be brought in there. See, you can imagine. Now, authority engineer is responsible for both to ensure that the design is in accordance with the specification and the scope of the project. That is what it says, workmanship. And in addition to that, he has to make sure the workmanship, construction quality, everything is done. Now, can you believe, I think Alok said that the only 10 or 15%, I don't know how much percent has to be checked by the authority engineer. Earlier, everything used to be checked by the PWD department or something, now it is only 10 to 20% or something. The accident may happen in the rest of the 80%, what Mr. Alok is saying. There is a need to make it fail-proof. 100% check has to be there somewhere, especially when you're doing the precast segmental construction. There are thousands of segments. One segment goes, awry or haywire or in its quality. I think the whole project is going to be in jeopardy. That's what we'll have to understand. There's a need to make it fail-proof. That is what the problem is. It is not the question of bringing additional policing. It is not, of course. Now, say, for example, the DPR, somebody said, I think the special bridges require a different approach to the DPR. We had made a DPR, in fact, for the special bridges, where we are going to introduce even the sustainability index also there, Okay. Apart from that, when the design director is checking the designs, he has to take the, the risk. What do you call the risk? What is that called? The risk engineer. What you said that the question is about risk analysis.
Yes. Risk analysis and mitigation.
So the design director should have the overall experience of viewing at the designs, taking the risks also into consideration. That is what the job of the design director is.
Yes.
That's what the job of he should see. The designs can be done in such a way that the risk of failure is very high, the risk of failure is very less, both adhering to the codal requirements and standard requirement. The design can be done both ways. We can adhere to the codes and standards requirement, and it's a highly risky job, highly risky design. That is the responsibility of the design director. So as far as the construct of a system is concerned, it's very good. It's a question of the qualification of the various stakeholders and implementation of the same by the, that is very, very important, in my opinion.
Yes, true. Great, sir. I mean, you have answered. I think you have given me a connect to the next question, which I will. This question was from Mr. Kishore, and the next question which I am going to ask is from Sudhir Kumar. This is mainly the question is asking about that the question mark on the L1 criteria. So to avoid all this failures, or to understand the bring the accountability. And while formulating the contract, all the different stakeholders needs to be reviewed and to be looked into. So is it any ways possible that we can relook into the L1 criteria which is being followed at the moment, which also is very much a factor, when we talk about failures in whenever it happens. So I'll just put up this question to Mr. Taude sir. Taude sir, if you can just from an authority side, you have seen the various perspectives. So can you just answer this question? Is it possible to revisit the L1 criteria in any case?
Uh, this is a really good question, but it's a policy of the government.
Mhm.
It is called a most responsive bid. L1 is the most
Right.
responsive bid. So they should see, evaluation committee or the authority should see the bid given by the competitive, because first the technical qualification are done. And
Mhm.
those who are clearing the technical qualifying criteria, only those bids are open, or financial
Right.
bids are open. Now L1 is being debated. Now I think some of our forum has also taken up. Indian International Road Federation, India chapter has also taken a matter with the government of India that L1 criteria, giving awarding work to L1 is not always a good product. You won't get always a good product. But I think government is still not ready, ready to accept that L1 is a non-viable option. Now, first evaluation committee appointed by the authority should give whether L1 is a unviable options financially or technically. Now, earlier days, if the bid is within 10 to 15%, we used to give justification that whether the contractor will be able to complete the work if is a financially non-viable bid. Of late, the bids are coming 25 to 35% below. If we see the recent bidding trend in NHA, particularly in even MOST. So these are certainly a non-viable, financially non-viable bid. But I think the various forum like National Highway Builder Federation, NHBF, our consulting association, Indian Institute of Bridge Engineers, Indian Association for Structural Engineers, where Hegde Saab, Alokji and all we are connected. So I think these institutions, these organizations should have to take up the matter jointly. Again, there is a financial rules, FR, government, GFR, government financial rules. And everybody in evaluation committee is afraid of the subsequent complaint and counter complaint. Everybody is now immune to the complaint. So there are very difficult times when the committee, I also used to be chairman of the evaluation committee, knowing that the bids is financially unviable. Nobody is coming forward to recommend that why L1 should be rejected. Why L1 should be rejected, work should be given to. Even the tendency is that if anyway L1 is not coming forward, L2 is being asked to match the price quoted by L1. Rather than giving work to L2 at L2 price, he is being asked whether he is ready to get the work at the L1 price.
Okay.
So I think it's a need. Government should also to check its policy. Nowadays, the bidding has become little worrisome. The quality, if really for such a major structure, like a cable-supported bridges, long-span bridges, but that matter has to be rigorously pursued by the institution like ours, Indian Association of Bridge Structural Engineers, and National Highway Federation, Builder Federation, like that. Then perhaps government, unless the reference is received by the government will also not agree. They cannot go so much to changes in their present policy at all. So I think this is a good question. Subsequently, we can discuss. We can coordinate with other institutions. We can coordinate. We can coordinate, and at least we can make a headway. We can make a headway, but it is again finally call has to be taken by the authority. Thank you.
Right. Alok sir, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Tawade Saab mentioned. You see, Consulting Engineers Association of India is actually doing a lot of work on this particular issue of L1, and particularly I would name Mr. Kapila, who is spearheading this fight, and
Why
he
L1?
has used the coin goodbye L1. And you see, in 2021 October, there is an amendment to the General Finance GFR, which Tawade Saab just now mentioned. And it opens up the idea of 70-30, that is 70% on price and 30% on the technical weightage. even after pre-qualification. This is already, they are now included in the GFR. But this several discussions have taken place, and so far NHAI is not in aligned with this idea, and they have not started. But government of India has already put that. I mean, if some government agency wants to sort of promote this idea of non-L1 with 70% on price and 30% on the, it can be done. The GFR has been already sort of amended.
Right.
But just a clarification. So just a
Sir.
clarification.
Yes, sir. Yes.
See, so far, even the NHA and ministry also, NHA also, for the consultancy procurement, I think this, the QCBS is being followed. It's 80%, 20%, as Alok said. It has to be changed to 70, 30%. Most important thing is to extend it to the EPC contracting. So far, it is not done. That's very important. Not only that, it is not going to be only this quality and cost-based weightage system. It is going to be the sustainability also in future. I think sustainability is another thing. It will be the. I've been talking in different forums and trying to promote that QCSBS, quality, cost, sustainability based system, rather than only quality cost based system. I think it's going to come, as Tavade Saab said. It needs the discussion. I think various institutions together, I think we'll have to approach ministry and NHI and make sure that it comes into the effect, even for the EPC contract.
Right. So I think I'll put up an open question here. So what it says is, even after construction sequence analysis and a construction, how the repair and maintenance is so frequent for cable stay bridges. So it's from Abhijit. It's not any specific, is not cited, but he's asking why so much of repair and maintenance is so frequent for cable stay bridges. This, I don't know. Any such is Mr. Abhijit.
That is not the correct thing. As a matter of fact,
yes.
Where we are having problems is small or medium span bridges.
Yes.
Because perhaps there are too many of them. And that's where we are having a problem.
Right.
Cable stayed bridges, but I don't know whether there are any big problems because there are very few. Yes. Yeah, the one in Calcutta, that is in a bit of a mess. Yes. Yeah. You see, this also requires, again, for people to understand what is required and how to what is maintenance and why maintenance.
Yes.
If they can't understand that the steel is going to corrode when exposed to certain environmental conditions, you will never get the correct answer.
Yes.
First, they must know that what causes it, go to the background, and then what to do about it. Most of the time, I see that it's, if you have a problem with the strength of concrete, that's what is happening in a number of cases. There is very little you can do about it because all this things like FRP and things like that, they work only for tensile conditions. That means that they can certainly augment the tensile capacity. But if you don't have the concrete strength itself, then it's very difficult to say what is to be done.
Right.
So it's, but that people must understand that what you are trying to do, what we found in one of the flyovers, the concrete strength is half of what it should be. And they are putting all these FRP laminates and things like that, not knowing because somebody sold them the idea that FRP is very good. It can strengthen your bridge. So they started putting. So this, I think that basically the owners, where the money is really coming from, they are the ones who have to upgrade their skills.
Yes. Right. I think you have touched base upon the next question also, sir. Like by Dr. Yogita Gupta, she wanted to understand the basic, basic responsibility of proof check and a safety consultant. So I think you have already highlighted certain points, which answers her question also. And previously also multiple things are being addressed. So I'll just skip that and move on to the next part. Again, this is open for everyone, where it mainly talks about unreasonable timelines given by the authority or the owners with respect to design, with respect to construction, and and other phases of the project life cycle of the bridge. So anything can be done on that for this unrealistic. We know we are on a fast track, on a development stage, very progressive. But is what the question Mr. Harun Sheikh is what he's mentioning is, anybody is going to focus on unreasonable timelines given to the stakeholders. So anyone,
Yeah,
Alok sir.
I think you see,
Yeah,
it
Mahesh.
depends
Yeah,
on.
can I?
Yeah, Tandon sir.
We
I
all got
know.
ideas on that.
Yes. Please, sir. Go ahead.
The main issue is that when you say 36 months is the contract,
Hmm.
it depends on from where you are counting the time. Is it for construction? Does it also include all sorts of investigations, like Mr. Hegde was saying, that it is the responsibility of the contractor to carry out seismic studies, and so on and so forth. I mean, this is not the way to go about it. All this, it is fast track as far as floating the tender is concerned. Yes, that is fast track. But that doesn't mean that we are going on a fast track project.
Yes.
So unless we understand that, I think the fast track will remain like this only. We'll
Yes.
put unrealistic timelines, not understanding how you can do it. Like, for example, many countries, they may take 5 years to float a tender, but that tender will include every single data that you require. And on the point of the starting point, you have to go straight into construction. But that is
Yes.
not what is happening.
True.
So that is the problem. Anyway,
Yes. Yeah.
Swapnil, can I come in?
Yeah, look, sir, I want to, along with that question, if you can do a justice to this, the person, Mr. Srijani Bandopadhyay, wants to know that root cause for Bhagalpur bridge collapse, both in 22 and 23.
Well,
So,
first I would like to respond
yeah,
to
both
Mr.
of them,
Harun
yes.
Sheikh's question. A very good question.
Yes.
So, what he is asking is, what is the solution? We have been only talking about problems of DPR. Now, you see, we have DPR to be done in 6 months and construction to be done in 36 months. You have to just make it almost reverse. Make sure that the DPR takes 3 years, 36 months, and you may reduce from 36 months the construction time to 24 months. That will work better than the reverse. So solution is there. Majority of the problem in DPR, particularly for the long span bridges, I have found is that the contractor starts the job from day one when his meter is down and he has to start construction. You find that the span arrangement is not a good, I mean, it's not a very ideal span arrangement. I can quote, time is not there, but there are 3-4 case studies which I can show where the DPR span arrangement is so bad that it took in one case about 1.5 years to just change the span arrangement from the unrealistic, unconstructible to a constructible one. And in another case, the job had to be abandoned and retendered just because the original DPR stage span arrangement is not workable at all.
That is because the detailed design, he doesn't have the experience of detailed design.
Right. Right. So all these time overrun, cost overrun, and the unreasonableness comes from the root cause of the problem is the foundation is wrong. That means when I say foundation, I mean the conceptualization is wrong.
Yes. True. Right. And any comment on sir, the root cause for Bhagalpur?
That is not something which we should discuss here, because that
Yes.
is a case which is still
Yeah,
under investigation, and it would not be appropriate
definitely. Yes.
to sort of discuss
Yes.
that, in my view.
Right. Yeah. The next question is it not in national benefit to appoint an academicians for design and construction activities for any project? It is by NN Bandhu. Uh, so anyone would like to, anyways, IITians and everybody are involved in proof checking and various other processes. So anybody would like to throw some light, Hide sir, on that? I mean,
Huh?
appointment of the academician,
I think
academicians on the
I refrain from, like, see, for example, but I'll tell you what, I think it's a very, I think among the practicing engineering circle, what discussion goes on, I do not know whether it's appropriate to say in this particular forum. You see, most of the, designs as well as the drawings have to be, as per the requirement, has to be approved by the IITs, Indian Institute of Technologies, as per the requirement. Unfortunately, what has happened is, I would have preferred our IIT professors who has been doing the proof checking also, similar to that of the Western and European countries. Many of the professors who have been working in the research laboratories as well as the teaching, they're also the practicing engineering. They are giving the consultancies. So they have the practical knowledge, and they would have involved themselves in the detailed designing of the structures also. You take the Christian man, you take the George Slice, you take any of these people. They are not only, like the practicing engineers, but they're also professors in the reputed institutions. I think I'll put it other way around. I think those people who are doing the proof checking consultancies from these IITs and all, I think they also should do the detailed design consultancies. It's not just the proof checking consultancy, and they will be better equipped to do the proof checking, in my opinion, if they do the detailed designing of the structures also in the future. That's what this one is.
Okay.
Right now, many of them, I think, are the proof checking from the IITs do not have the experience of the detailed design. I would prefer personally, they should also start doing the detailed designing of the long span bridges, so that they can do the proof checking in an effective and efficient manner, in an effective manner. That's how I'll put it.
right. Okay, Alok sir, you have some point on that same?
Yeah, just a short point here. Here again, I would say that this concept of proof checking has been severely diluted in our country. When we started this process of proof checking, I think after the Mandavi collapse, I still remember one bridge which I was young and I was designing new Mandavi bridge, and it was being proof checked by Tandon consultants. And I still remember, those proof checking was absolutely threadbare proof checking. I mean, today we as a society, particularly the onus is with the owner clients. They have diluted the concept of proof checking. They are using, unfortunately, the academic institutions as a shield, so that the proof checking is also done, the time is also saved, and at the same time, if there is any query, there is an academic institution's name. They prefer the name of any IIT patent practicing structural engineer as a proof checker, and this is because that if there is a problem, this is the understanding or feeling of comfort, which may be true, may not be true. But in the process, the whole idea and concept of having a third party proof checking, so because after all, to err is human. I mean, any designer can commit mistake. Idea of proof checking is that when you are doing so much of voluminous calculations and all, you can commit error in the concept, error in the calculations. So there is a third party who is to do proof checking. But unfortunately, we have diluted that.
Right. That's very well said, sir. Now, the next question is from Mukund Tijare, who wants to know, is there any maintenance manual for cable stay bridges issued by Morth? So
No, but
maintenance manual?
the
Yes, sir.
maintenance, there is a chapter in the guidelines which are going to come out hopefully soon.
Mhm.
There is a separate chapter on maintenance, structural health monitoring, and covering those instrumentation.
Yes.
These type of issues are covered in that particular chapter,
Okay.
and that chapter is a part of the guidelines.
Okay. So
When
then
it gets published, I don't know, but when it does get published, I think it will be a valuable document.
yes. But Tandon sir, in that continuation, there is another question. I mean, just a small elaboration will help them. That can this instrumentation during the construction will be helpful to avoid the failures in any extent during the, so that the chapter also focuses, the guidelines also focuses on certain parameters of that during the construction phase also.
I think perhaps not specifically, but construction stage, I think most of the failures are happening because of very simple issues, and mainly they are of design, but people don't understand the value of the construction stage is a stage which is where it's a very delicate and precarious kind of a situation for the structure. The
Right.
bridge is not complete; it's halfway, and
Yes.
it is successively being built. So it's especially when you talk about these cable-supported bridges, it is so important to understand that and treat it as more important perhaps than the service stage design. Service stage design rarely, you have collapses and things like that. But
Right.
construction stage, any day. I mean, they are the leaders of the pack.
Yes.
So
Yeah, coming to
Very true.
yeah, Swapnil,
Yeah.
you are actually see, even now, in case of the cable supported bridges, whether it's especially in the cable stayed bridges,
Mhm.
instrumentation has to be done during the construction. See, there is a difference between the instrumentation during the construction and instrumentation for the service condition. Instrumentation for the service condition is to measure the durability, like aspects, as it progresses, like maintenance for the maintenance purpose, and how the structure is performing in terms of the time. Whereas during the construction, instrumentation is done to measure the deflections, measure the stresses in the cables. It is all done. Otherwise, see, you cannot cut the cables according to the length. We normally measure the deformation of the decks, deformation of the pylon, and also, the stresses in the cable. Sometimes the stresses in the cable also is measured to stress or restress the cables, distress or restress the cables. So the
Right.
required instrumentation is done for the purpose of the construction during the construction.
Right.
Without that, it is not possible in construction. The cable stay bridges to do the stressing requirement, to achieve the stressing requirement, and also to achieve the final geometry of the bridge as designed.
Right.
Without the instrumentation, so partially it is done, but I don't know in what way we can give it in the guideline. What sort of instrumentation has to be done during the construction? I do not know in what way it is possible for us to give the guide in the guidelines. I have not come across anywhere internationally also the instrumentation to be done during the construction as a guideline. As a
Yes.
guideline, I have not come across, but it is done. Invariably,
Right.
it is done for the cable support purposes.
Yes, right. So I think we have reached the last question now, which I think Alok Bhumik sir have already addressed that in at length regarding the DPR process. So what the person, Mr. Samit Holkar, what he is trying to put up is it possible to get the contractors involved during the DPR process to have a more, practical approach? I think you have answered that, but other than that, if you have any point to make, Alok sir, please. I'm just putting it to you only again.
No, you see, the contractors should not get into the DPR because then there would be a conflict of interest.
Yes.
So, but the point is, what I find is for the DPR, according to me, the DPR stage is the most vital and important stage of any project. But
Yes.
what we find is in India, majority of the structural consultant experts who are into the field of design, detailed design, they are not involved in the DPR.
Right.
The people who are involved in the DPR are those who are working as authorities engineer. And
Yes.
if you go into the details as to why this happens, is because the authority engineer's job is a very financially lucrative job.
Right.
And the requirement to pre-qualify as an authorities engineer is that you have to have the experience of at least 5 DPRs in last 5 years.
Yes.
So for the authorities engineer to get a DPR is not about the finance. They want a DPR, even if at free of cost, they would like to do a DPR and do some job so that they can qualify for the authorities engineer.
Yes.
So this is a nexus which actually needs to be broken. And it's not that the issue is not known to the authorities, but it has been flagged several times.
Yes.
And this is an issue which needs to be addressed. The authorities in the DPR consultants are actually doing a very sloppy job because they are neither paid for that because they themselves quote very low fee, and at the same time there is a huge pressure for completing the DPR so that the bid can be floated. And the right from the top, right from the honorable minister to the entire bureaucracy is only giving credit to the consultants for quick and early submissions rather than for a quality submission.
Fast track, fast track.
Fast track. So
Fast
I think I
track
was about to say that. So I think it was a great discussion. I think we have covered all the questions, and we're very glad that so many questions are being put up in the chat box, and I think majority of them being answered at length by our panelists. And so it was extremely, knowledge sharing for this last 2.5 hours, for the session. So I would now request Ruhi to, since there are no further questions, and we are already crossed our time limit, so I'll request Ruhi to propose the vote of thanks uh, for today's session. Ruhi?
Yeah, thank you, sir. To all honorable dignitaries, it's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks for panel discussion on bridge failure, day 2. I, on behalf of IIBE, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all the members and non-members for gracing us with your presence and sharing with us your valuable feedback and suggestion. Firstly, I would like to thanks to our Director General, Shri S.R. Tambe, our President and today's moderator, Engineer Vinay Gupta, for always providing and constantly guiding us with the vision for the future of IIBE. I would like to thank our Treasurer Dr. Vishal Thomre and Honorary Secretary Dr. Gopal Rai and Engineer Swapnil Joshi for being a strong support of IIBE. I would like to thank to our today's panelists Professor Mahesh Tandon, Engineer V.N. Hegre, Engineer Alok Bhaumik for their enlightening and entertaining presentation and for sharing their valuable opinion and suggestion in this platform. I would like to thanks to all our eminent executive committee members of Head Office and North Center for their valuable present and views. I would like to thanks to Engineer Deepika Singh, coordinator of IIBE, for always helping and managing events of IIBE. Last but not the least, Mr. Huzaffar for all his IT support. Also to all the participants for always coming in huge number to make this webinar a great success. Thank you. With the permission, I would like to close the session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.